Hi, Pragati. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm in my Christmas jumper, so definitely in festive vibe today. How
I was
about
going to
you?
say very, very festive. Yes, exactly the same. Thank you. I don't know if I'm happy or not that it's going to be our last Fabric user group
Yeah,
of 2023, but
yeah, but it
very,
is
very
last.
happy.
Yeah, but it is last for this year, right? So nothing to be sad because we have a pretty strong kickoff next year. So yeah, I
Oh,
think we
agreed.
should be happy about it and excited about it.
And a strong finish as well with our guests today, should I say, for this table talk. A plethora of MVPs, should we say, is probably the best way to put it. And
Yeah,
we have said behind the scenes, Pragati, that only 4 out of 6 of us are into something. So that's going to be a key question to the audience today. What are 4 out
yeah,
of 6 of us for Christmas into?
yeah. Basically, there's some common thing between among four of us as MVPs today. So you just need to put in chat when everyone is on the screen, like what's that common thing the four of us are doing today.
And as always, please do let us know where you're joining us from. I think it's probably best if we bring all of our guests onto the screen today and let them introduce themselves one by one. I think that's probably going to be the best route forward.
Definitely.
Right. Welcome, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey,
everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Excellent. Thank you very much for joining us. I think we'll go round in the order I can see on my screen. So, NJ, would you please introduce yourself first?
Well, hey guys, data platform MVP here, mostly Power BI. Also probably the newest MVP since I've been an MVP since July this year. So coming in from Poland, it's nice to be here. Nikola, you want to go next?
Yeah, thank you. I'm Nikola. I'm based in Salzburg in Austria, where I'm working as an independent data platform consultant and trainer, mostly with Microsoft data platform products. Andy, would you like to go next?
Yes, hello. Thank you, Nicola. Yes, I'm Andy. So I'm in the UK at the moment, data platform MVP, and I primarily work with Microsoft's data technologies, obviously. So a lot of Synapse Analytics, and now increasingly going to be Fabric. So that's me. I'll hand it over to Mark.
Thanks, Andy. I'm from rainy London. No way more exotic than that. And I'm also a data platform MVP. And I spend a lot of my time recently training. So a lot of my Power BI wish list for Christmas is all to do with being able to help my students learn Power BI better.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody, for introducing yourselves. And like I say, absolutely fantastic to have you with us today. I'm sure Pragati would say the same.
Yeah, I think I'm very excited first time to have these many people on our user group at the same time because it's always like a one speaker session, right, Nicola? We never had more speakers before. So it's like pretty nice to see like many people here. And today we are going to discuss some of the exciting things as well. So yeah, very much looking forward to.
Excellent. I think we should probably just dive straight in and with let's take a look at what is everyone's favorite release of 2023 from a Power BI or even a Fabric perspective. Anybody want to?
Yeah, it could be anything.
Shall I jump in?
Anybody want to jump in? Yes, please.
Yeah, so I mean, overall, well, it's hard to ignore Fabric, right? I mean, I would like to say something in Synapse Analytics, but I'm not sure that anything has been released into Synapse Analytics in 2023, right? So I'm going to look at Fabric. Now, obviously, Fabric is a massive, broad subject, right? So I can't just say Fabric, drop the mic, and then hand over to someone else. Specifically, it's really around what Microsoft have done with the SQL engine side of things. It is quite a big departure from what we've seen previously. So this is not SQL Server that we all know, or SQL Server developers and DBAs know. This is, a new engine, built from what is commonly known as Polaris, a white paper, which was all about distributing compute and creating a fault-tolerant and auto-scaling engine. Microsoft have gone in on that. They created that with serverless SQL pools in Synapse. They've advanced that on now in Fabric, and that's now the SQL engine that's underpinning the Lakehouse querying method, but also the data warehousing as well. So they've converged into one engine, which means that we've got one set of syntax to understand, one engine to understand, rather than having to split our minds in two and understand how serverless SQL pools work and dedicated SQL pools and the idiosyncrasies between those two. So I have appreciated the fact that Microsoft have done that and simplified things in terms of that engine, so we can concentrate on developing, not having to spend our time understanding what you can and can't do with the different SQL engines in other services. Great for consultants, right? Great for people who want to explain to the nth degree how things work and what the differences are, but not so much if you just want to get in and get working. So I think overall, I'm going to pinpoint that SQL endpoint and that SQL engine within Fabric as the thing that I have appreciated the most. And it's not really even on a cadence of monthly releases. We're getting new features coming in pretty much every week in terms of this service. So it's another shift in mindset as well. Whereas even I was surprised that Synapse Analytics had a monthly cadence in releases, because really you're dealing with a large data platform technologies. How incremental and how agile can you make releases when people have got workloads on these systems? We're now entering the world where we're going to be building data engineering and data warehousing solutions in Fabric, where we've now got the cadence of Power BI releases. They're really quick, they're really fast. So I'm going to highlight the SQL engine in Fabric as probably my highlight of 2023, I think.
Thanks, Andy. I mean, I do agree with the SQL engine thing, because I think that's one of the power source for the Fabric is, right? That's one of the power source for the Fabric we have now. So anyone else? I mean, Mark, Nikola, Injae, anyone else? Do you want to add your, one of the favorite release for the year? And in the meantime, one question for the audience. I mean, just tell us in comments, like, what has been your favorite release of the year. In the meantime, MVPs on this table talk are discussing things. Definitely put us in comments what is your most favorite release for the year.
Let me go next. My favorite release came in November. It came in Power BI. It was the DAX query view. The DAX query view is a way of writing DAX, a proper script editor. And DAX is hard, no matter what people say. And one of the things about this is that it allows you to follow a line of thought from one end and build up something, a calculation step by step. And it's much nicer to do that and do that hard thing about DAX than it was before in these glorified text boxes, which were the kind of formula bar. So for me, that's the standout release.
I guess all of us love DAX Query View. I just started trying it out the other day, and I was like, "Wow, this is pretty cool! It has made my life easier."
Yeah,
and I'm hoping they're going to improve and add more things to it. So definitely a win-win release for all of us who work with Power BI a lot.
I can be next, Injae, if you agree. Sure, thanks. Yeah. So from my side, it's I would say two things that are brand new that we didn't have previously. Direct Lake, obviously, that's something that wasn't available before Fabric came in. So Direct Lake, and also semantic link in Fabric. That's something super cool, because it's new and it opens a whole world of new possibilities for different things. I already saw many great use cases generated by community in last month or so by Sandeep. Also, Phil Seamark created his famous data visualization, data refresh process visualized now using semantic link and notebook. So those two are for me highlights because they're brand new. All the others, I mean, not all the others, but few more that I would like to mention that make our lives easier, but we could live without them, using some workarounds here and there. And I agree absolutely about DAX query view, That's something that helps a lot, really a lot, especially if you're working in an organization that doesn't allow installation of external tools. But also from data visualization perspective, for me, new card visual also something, some really great addition. And also, what else? I think I wrote it down. Dynamic format string. That's also something that helped me a lot for many use cases. So I will stop there, and yeah, let's say that's my top list for 2023.
Thanks, Nikola. Injae.
I mean, really, is there much more to say? I mean, let's be honest. When Andy said fabric, that pretty much encompasses everything. But semantic link, for sure. I also read Phil C. Mark's post about how he's using some Python to visualize the relationships between tables and stuff like that. And I was just blown away because in the post, he was also doing it with Vega. So, you know, it's something that you probably put into Deneb, into Power BI as well, not just from, you know, Fabric notebooks. Very cool stuff. Also, the new card visuals are, you know, substantially better than the previous card visuals. So I will definitely say that's one of my favorites. It also doesn't hurt that it's one of my, you know, most viewed videos as well.
Wow, that's great. And yeah, can't agree more, because I would honestly say that, guys, I actually converted all my card visuals in my previous reports by using new card visual, because it kind of just saves a lot of work. Rather than having, like, say 10 card visuals, we can actually have one visual with like 10 different elements or information in it, right? So that new card visual is definitely a win-win. So yeah.
So many great releases, and we've also put the link to Phil C. Mark's post as well into the chat. So thank you, NJ, for sharing that. Pragati, would you add anything to that at all?
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, obviously I do a lot of visualization, but I've started doing a lot of calculation group stuff as well. And I think Anthony in the comment actually wrote that down, because that's one of the feature I like this year. Like, now in Power BI Desktop, there's a support for calculation groups. So I really love that feature, because now I have everything at one place, because I like things to be consolidated. And I mean, I love using external tools, but still, when things come together, I really like them. That's why I love Fabric, because most of the stuff is consolidated now. So that is one of the other thing that I would like to highlight. And also, with the new card visual, there's this new slicer visual that was released. That is, again, another, you know, big thing for me that was released this year. And I really loved using it. I've started trying it out in some of my reports, and I'm just trying to do crazy things with it. And I know it's going to blow many people's mind in future when people are going to use it in reports, because it has got amazing capabilities. And then, as Nikola said, direct link mode. Oh, that was again a win-win for me. I mean, I just loved using it so far. So yeah, I think that's something I've loved so far. And we know, like, some of the new things. Actually, people didn't talk about one thing. I mean, we had Jay last week at a user group showing visual calculations.
But that's not here. Sorry for interrupting, but that's still not here.
It's actually going to come next year. I might have just said it like, oh, it will come next year. Yeah, but that is something, yeah. Okay, we might discuss about it later, because that is something I'm waiting for, basically, to be added in Power BI, I guess. But yeah, Leon, what do you think? Do you want to add more things? Because I know you come from AI and ML world more, so...
Yeah, I'm not going to speak about AI and ML in terms of releases this year. I think OpenAI have kind of taken that by storm. So I think for me, really, from a enterprise architecture perspective, the introduction of deployment pipelines has been really good. Not finalized yet, so especially in the Fabric world, we're still getting some support coming through into Q1 2024, but we do have deployment pipelines now. Outside of that would be domains as well, both for Power BI and for Fabric. So introducing data mesh architecture into this environment as well. Those are two that haven't been discussed yet that probably stand out a little bit for me.
Interesting.
Excellent.
I think we had some amazing comments from some of our audiences as well. Like Anthony just mentioned about new card and slicer visual, DAX query view. And then Casey is talking about the new dynamic labeling. I think it came out in December update, if I'm not right. December Power BI update on the bar charts and column charts. Now we can have that. Is that the dynamic labeling he's talking about? I'm not sure, but yeah, and then calculation groups in desktop. And yeah, Arthur is talking about the data flow Gen 2. Oh yeah, that is another big thing for, especially for the Power BI people,
Great
because
point.
data flow Gen 2 has got so much on top of the Gen 1 data flows that we used to use. So yeah, can't agree more on that, Arthur. And thank you so much for putting your comment in there. So yeah, I think we had pretty exciting year this year with so
think so
much.
as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
And plenty more to come into 2024. We do have quite an interesting question coming in from the audience, so I think we might as well try to answer this as a collective. What is the collective term for a lot of MVPs? Anybody want to take a stab at this one?
MVP
got
pot.
MVP pot? Did you just say MVP
Pot.
pot? Oh, MVP pot.
Like lot pot, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I put my answer in the chat. It's a podcast of MVPs, obviously.
Oh, excellent.
Oh, yeah. Definitely it is.
I'm surprised no one went for an aggregation or any DAX aggregations for FMVPs. Excellent. Great question.
I don't want to go
we'll
into
find an
that.
answer to it.
So, yeah. Let's see.
Fantastic. So I guess probably something that I would like to ask everybody on the call today is, what is one feature that's still missing from your favorite Microsoft product?
Andy, you're muted. I do see you're trying to speak.
Shall I start with that one?
Microsoft blocked him.
Yeah, they're like, don't let Andy talk. Just the one. I'll keep it brief. So I'm going to split between Synapse Analytics and Fabric, if that's okay. So I'm going to pick one from Synapse and one from Fabric, if I can do that, because both products still, well, Synapse Analytics still very relevant. That's Microsoft have stated that that's the platform as a service, and that's not going anywhere, and I'm going to hold them to that. However, if there's one thing that I'd love to see in Synapse, and that is full support for Delta within serverless SQL pools. I'm not interested in writing data. I fully understand that serverless SQL pools are not for that. They are literally like the Lakehouse SQL endpoints in Fabric. They're read-only. Okay, they've got a write process, but it's very basic, but that's what they're for. I'd just like to see full Delta support. Time travel, for one. There's no time travel support. So when you're building out these solutions in Synapse and you're delivering data using serverless, you're kind of hamstrung because you can't use, well, one of the best features of Delta, which is being able to look at data at certain points in time. You're only ever looking at the current snapshot of data. That's what I'd like to see in Synapse. I don't know if they'll ever put that in there, but I can lobby and try my very, very best, because I think that would unlock, that service. If I switch to Fabric, I'm going to pick security. I think there was a comment. I think, Fernando. So domains need security at the, yes, I do like domains, but they are pretty simplistic at the moment. They're there to hold a collection of workspaces, but not much else. Everything still happens at the workspace level. We don't really have fine-grained controls with what we can do with items in workspaces. If you look at the Fabric documentation around what people can and can't do, it's pretty much they can do everything if they're an admin, if they're a contributor. They can't do much if they're a viewer, but there's nothing really fine-grained in what people can and can't do with notebooks, with lakehouses, with the tables within lakehouses and files. It's coming. I do understand. So I guess I'm probably going to answer my a later question now by saying it. But at the moment, you can just about get around what you need to do in Fabric from a security perspective, but it's quite brute force. There's no nuance to it yet. That's the thing in Fabric that I really want to see.
Excellent.
Interesting
Thank you very
answer.
much, Andy. Who would like to go next? NJ, I saw you unmute, so it looks
Well,
like
okay.
you're next up.
I was like, I was giving Mark and it's like take some time. Okay, so my the product that I use the most is obviously Power BI. And the one thing that I think everyone would really, really appreciate is write back, something native to be able to write back to, whether it's SQL, whether it's a database. But honestly, I would be happy if you could do some write back just into the data that Power BI stores in JSON format. If that existed, then that means that it opens up a myriad of possibilities with just Excel, Power BI, which is honestly not the best data architecture, but also what a lot of companies use, because a lot of companies, smaller sizes, just don't need a SQL database because they're not using that level of data. So for a lot of people, especially people who are using finance, to be able to say, you know what, I've calculated my forecasts, I'm going to put them into Power BI, and I just want them to work. And I want to be able to change these, it's like values whenever, wherever. If that was there, it would be so useful. And it's like, I'm sure Power BI, I'm sure Microsoft's actually working on it. Probably it's like being clamored about forever. But will we ever see that? I don't know. I know that there are paid custom visuals that it's like do actually do this, but simply the fact that it's such a useful functionality, and it is something that you have to pay something extra for, does mean that a lot of people won't use it. And I'm hoping it'll be native someday.
Excellent. Thanks, NJ. And you did get some support in the comments there that we flashed up on the screen coming in from Casey. And also Fernando did call out InfoRiver. We have to also call out Actoris, AimPlan, and all of these other, Power On as well, all of these other third-party write-back tools, just to be fair. Mark, Nicola, any thoughts?
Mark, please.
Okay, let me go ahead. I am going to be very old school, and I'm going to ask for better visualizations in Power BI. I know they've done wonderful things to the card visual, and I agree with that. And I'd like them to do that to the other visuals. It still pains me that small multiples, which I think are great, we can't use them for scatter charts. We can only use them for sum charts. And if I've got 9 regions, I can't put my small multiples in a grid. I can't wrap it 3 by 3. And there's some charts that are like the dumbbell chart. I love a dumbbell chart. If you've ever seen one of those, it shows you where you started, where you're getting to, and where you've come, and your progress made. It's used a lot in finance. It's used a lot in economics, but we still haven't got anything like that. And anything as well to show the dispersion of a variable. We have to kind of make do with building our own histograms and things like that. So better visuals. I know it's old school, but that's what I want.
Hey, Mark, can I just interject? So I was just on a call with Miguel Myers earlier, and I am part of the community representatives for the visualizations team. And some of those things are coming. I'll also mention that Bass from How to Power BI, he literally dropped a video today about how to do dumbbells with native visuals in Power BI. So I'm going to post a link to you, Leon. It's like you can post it in the chat, but there are some cool things coming.
Fantastic. That's really good to know.
Okay, then I'll focus on just one feature that is currently missing. I know, as Andy said, that many of those will come sooner or later. But at this moment, what I'm missing mostly, I know it's probably very niche, but it's support for service principals for REST APIs in Fabric. For my use cases and most clients where I work, they are using service principals. And this is currently a huge blocker for adopting Fabric. And also, of course, all APIs or almost all APIs are still in preview, and a lot of them are still not there. So I would say, let's put it in this way, like a general thing. I expect more from this side of Fabric, so support for REST APIs. That's my point here.
Thanks,
Excellent.
Nikola.
Perfect. It sounds like there's quite a few features there that everybody would like to see, and fairly diverse as well across the board. Some of which we hope are coming, and we're led to believe some of them are coming, and others which we can just continue to raise our posts on the community ideas forum to go and get those in play. I think that if I'm right in thinking, the key word, at least in the UK for this year, is it artificial intelligence, the most used word in the UK? I'll have to find a link to that. NJ might be able to find one, as he's been finding quite a few links for us today behind the scenes. But what I want to talk or at least raise the topic of is how will AI change the future, not only of Power BI, but of Fabric and also of data?
Okay, shall I go first again?
Yes, please.
Okay. I always struggle with these big questions like this and these trends and opportunities. I always try and boil it down to the things that I would find most useful from an AI perspective. And it's easier to border it if we talk about something like Fabric or data technologies. So I want to split it into two. I want to split it based on looking at a data strategy. So looking at your defensive data strategy and looking at your opportunities in your data strategy. So defensive, I'm looking at things like security and access control. So I want AI to be able to tell me how to secure my platform. As I'm developing, as I'm creating objects, as I'm linking services together, in the background, I want AI to be prompting me and telling me, oh, by the way, you need to connect that. Well, you need to connect that with a managed identity or a service principal. Here's how you go about doing it. I've already generated the code for you to go and do that. I'm looking at governance. So governance is all about a checklist, right? You work through a checklist to make sure that all of your requirements in terms of data protection, things like GDPR, are satisfied. They're quite a laborious process. They're quite time consuming. So I want to remove that as well. Now, we have some of those things in tools like Purview, where it's scanning data and it's kind of telling you, oh, I think this is personally identifiable information. I want it to go one step further and say, right, based on your data estate, these are the actions that we're going to take across these areas. So that's going to be quite important as well. It's taking some of this heavy lifting of this checklist approach in terms of working through a defensive data strategy. That's one thing. And coding standards and building frameworks and things like that. I think AI is going to help us do that. I mean, I've managed to build out simple PySpark frameworks using things like ChatGPT, very easily. So I'm hoping that that's gonna help as well. It's just augmenting and taking the drudgery away, I think. From the opportunities perspective, I'll probably let someone else talk about trends and opportunities and things like that. But for me, that's kind of what I want to see and what I think will change and impact me the most in working with the product is it helping me as I'm developing those solutions.
Thanks, Andy. I think that really makes sense, especially people who come from the background and especially with your expertise, right? So who would like to go next?
I can go next.
Sure, Nikola, go ahead.
Others, yeah, okay. So in general about AI, I'm both impressed and scared. And I'll explain why. I'm impressed by the possibilities that it offers and by the speed that it came from like 1 year ago, what we had and what we have now. So the speed of development is really impressive. but I'm also scared for two reasons. And let me start with the main one. The main one is that, and I think Anthony mentioned in comments, critical thinking. I think we start, at least that's what I see it myself, that we start to lose the critical thinking and blindly trust what we get from ChatGPT, or let's say ChatGPT because it's the mainstream one. And I give you one example. So one of my colleagues asked, what was the first book on SQL? He asked ChatGPT. And ChatGPT answered, the first book on SQL was a guide to the IBM relational database interface, but by Don Chamberlain and Robert Boyce, published in 1974. This book was written blah, blah, blah. And this is a very well written, authoritative sounding, so believable answer. So if you know SQL history, you know that's the approximately right time frame. There is IBM involved, so the right company and right names. But there is just one problem. There is no such book. But you get the answer, and if you don't apply a kind of critical thinking and questioning this, then you can easily come up with some wrong information. And at this moment, that's my personal opinion, of course. At this moment, I would use ChatGPT for some tasks that can be automated, but that don't require 100% correctness. I give you an example. Create me a PowerPoint presentation using, I don't know, these colors and this font, for example. Doesn't change the way, doesn't change the essence of what's being done, but it saved me like a few hours probably of work. So yeah, that's my take on AI generally, and consequentially also I think more or less the same for data world. We are still not there.
Excellent. Thank you, Nikola. Mark or Injae, who would like to go next?
Mark, you want to go first?
Okay, yes. I've been putting ChatGPT through its paces as a student. I do courses in Python, SQL, Power BI and DAX, and I've been putting it through, doing the exercises for those courses, and it writes Python and SQL certainly as good as most SQL professionals, and well, I don't know about Python professionals, but I can say most SQL professionals. So it's going to cause massive disruption, certainly. What do we teach people now if that we don't need to teach them the syntax and thing? Definitely people have to start thinking about asking the question, supplying the data. So critical thinking and the sort of thing that a good technical BA, business analyst, used to do, I think becomes more important. Whereas the syntax becomes less so. I'm not sure, but I can see that it's causing, for a lot of people with the skills that they've got, it's like any technology, it's going to cause massive economic disruption to people. So, and so we'll have to see. We'll have to see. But I've got questions, but not answers.
Excellent. Thanks, Mark. And NJ, yourself?
So can I just copy what Mark said? Okay. Yeah, but realistically, I've been actually, it's like speaking at the data science conference that Nikola also spoke in, which is one of the data science summits here in Poland. And this was what I was actually talking about. I was talking about, it's like how Power BI developers should prepare and use ChatGPT for their own work. And I was going through some things like ChatGPT can do a lot of stuff. Like you ask it to create a very basic star schema. It can do that very quickly, very easily. Can it write DAX? I mean, it's a little contentious. It really can't write Vega, at least for Deneb. But I will say that Python, it does really well. As Mark said, SQL, it does do it really well. I think the fact that it doesn't do DAX or Vega very well right now is simply because it hasn't had enough training, items. So if it gets trained on more, it's like DAX, it could, be something that is very useful and doesn't require as much training to, get to that level. But then again, we also see not even AI, but other technologies that could be equally disruptive. There's like the DAX optimization, which is coming from SQL BI. I know that there's a lot of custom visuals that are implementing AI themselves. We'll really have to see what's the landscape for it's like data professionals looks like in the future. But to Mark's point, more than anything else, I think that if technical skills get democratized, then soft skills, requirements gathering, stakeholder management, stuff that a lot of BAs would do, it's like that becomes important. I have to be honest, not a lot of BAs that I work with have worked strictly with Power BI that know, it's like really the ins and outs, and it's like what's a good choice and what's not. It's mostly technical architects who've done Power BI a long time who can do that level of work. But that's always going to be important, because translating the business requirements into technical requirements isn't something that ChatGPT is just going to be able to do, at least not yet. So we'll see.
Fantastic. Thank you, everybody, for your thoughts. I'd love to hear some thoughts coming in from the audience as well, how they feel about AI and how it's going to impact the future of Power BI and data. I think we're quite well on topic here, Pragati, to switch into maybe Copilot.
Yeah, definitely. Everyone is talking about Copilot these days, and I understand like some people have already got hands-on on it. So yeah, I don't know if any of you guys have tried Copilot already. I mean, if you have tried, like, what's your take on it? Or if not, have you seen videos or posts by other people who got chance to try Copilot already? So what are your thoughts? I mean, will Copilot change the way things have been working in our industry?
Hey guys, show of hands, who's actually tried Copilot?
Yeah, I really want to say, not me.
So Andy, you want to go first this time as well?
Yeah, again.
I was going to sort of hang
First
back.
and only.
Yeah, I didn't want to. So I haven't tried Copilot in Fabric because I don't have the option yet. I know it's being enabled around, but I have tried Copilot Studio. So this is the ability to, well, essentially create your own Copilots. And it was an area that I just wanted to have a look at and just understand, what am I building? So I'm going to build a Copilot. What does that mean from a technical perspective? What am I going to get out of what am I going to get out of creating a Copilot? What I didn't realize was there is, or is soon used to be, a feature. I think it was Power Agents, where you could build a chatbot. It was all part of the Power platform. I never used it. It wasn't really an area that I was looking at. That's now been replaced by Copilot Studio. So I created a Copilot using the generative AI processes of pointing it towards my own blog, literally giving it just the top level URL, then exposing that chatbot within a Teams channel. You can point it at any website. It has to be specific. It can't be like loads of nested links. So it's quite fussy in what it will and won't accept. But you can add in documentation. So if you've got internal documentation, if you've got internal knowledge bases, you can essentially hook them into this generative AI and then start to ask it questions. And in a very short space of time, I had a Copilot in Teams. I've got it in Teams now, and I've actually used it over the last few days to prompt me about blogs that I've written a while ago and some information about serverless SQL pools or Fabric Warehouse or something like that. And I found that incredibly useful. I've had to teach it that certain answers weren't correct because, as Nikola said, it conflated one service with another service's feature and said that it supported that feature. And of course, no, it doesn't. And I know for a fact that it doesn't support that feature, and it never will. So I had to tell it that no, it doesn't support it. But I was very impressed. I think, in a nutshell, for me, not really understanding the world of AI, really, to get something that is pretty useful for me up and running was amazing, was fantastic. So yeah, that's what I've been looking at. And yes, I've been seeing, I think Chris Wagner, Kratos BI, has had a lot of Copilot stuff on his channel, which has been great to watch as well. But in terms of Fabric, I'm literally waiting to get my hands on it.
Thanks, Andy. Leon, I just saw your hand raised up that you've tried Copilot. So would you like to give your views? What do you think about it?
Well, it's AI, isn't it? It'll be rude of me not to have tried it. So I think, as Andy mentioned, the key selling point here from a Microsoft perspective is artificial intelligence everywhere. It's probably not reached the fruition that we get from marketing demos, but it will shortly, in terms of being able to do what you would expect from the term Copilot. I always look at these type of technologies as virtual assistants, helping to enhance the processes that I tend to take a long time doing. Then I think it's fantastic, as that is probably the best search engine for a computer that I've ever used. So I can literally type in exactly what I'm looking for and get references directly to that. Within a Windows environment, which is fantastic. And again, just to mention Andy's point there in terms of Power Virtual Agents being rebranded as Copilot Studio, this opens up an amazing avenue for low code, no code development of artificial intelligence solutions in the Microsoft ecosystem. You then start to combine this with potentially Azure, cognitive search, cognitive services, also Power Automate, as Andy mentioned, Teams, even potentially in the future, Power BI Fabric, and it starts to be a massive playground or sandbox of fun tricks to enhance the way that we're going to work into the future. So just to echo Nicola's point earlier, yes, it's scary times for a lot of people as we go into this transition. But I think we should see this as a massive enhancement of going from, like Nicola again mentioned earlier, days worth of development on certain tasks coming down to minutes or hours.
Excellent, Leon. Yeah, I can't agree more on that, because whenever it comes to AI or Copilot, I'm like, most of the time I'm scared like what's going to come out of it, because like obviously not Copilot, but I've seen this feature from some time in Power BI service already. Like when you have a data set published in your environment, you can actually create an auto report on top of it. And I've been using that feature for some time just to understand what really it brings out. And 90% of time, it kind of brought the visuals, which literally didn't make sense to me. I mean, on most of the data sets. And I was like, no, this is not going to work for the users if they're, really just trying to auto create a report. I mean, it requires a lot of development as well. I mean, the reports just don't come out like that. So yeah, I think I'm again with all of you guys. I mean, it scares me a lot, and I really don't know when it's going to be at that level that we can actually start using it without ever thinking whether the output is coming wrong or not. So yeah, it's something always in my mind. So that's why I really, don't use them yet. But yeah, let's see. As Andy mentioned, I mean, I'm also waiting on within Fabric, like when Copilot is going to get enabled for us. So yeah, once it comes, maybe I'll try my hands on. But yeah, I mean, but still, I'll be, be cautious about what it's bringing me out, basically. Mark, Nicola, Injae, anything you guys want to add to Copilot?
So, Leon, I want to ask you one thing. Is Copilot Studio kind of like GPTs in OpenAI?
So I don't know whether to do a humble plug here or not. So we have a solution that we're bringing to the market on Xdata very shortly, which leverages Copilot Studio and OpenAI and a couple of other technologies under the hood from an Azure perspective as well. And I suppose the way to look at it, or at least from how we're currently using it, is as a front end for the OpenAI API. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure I got my letters out correctly there. So that's the way that we're using it. Now, what this enables us to do, like Andy mentioned earlier, is have a couple of workflows. So we can actually go directly to OpenAI's API for certain prompts, and we can also then go directly to documents and URLs for other prompts as well. So I would, or at least the way that we're currently using Copilot Studio is to separate workflows, give that chatbot element to the front end, and then surface this into a web browser. So I don't think, based on how at least we've used it so far, it's a replacement for custom GPTs or Chat GPT's store. But what it does enable you to do is bring some of these workflows into a virtual agent environment as well. And like I say, the OpenAI connector lies there as well.
Okay, that's really cool, and it's like interesting that you see it this way, because I've been it's like testing GPTs a little bit, and GPTs have the actions as well, so you can it's like do certain things. You can basically, I mean, honestly, the only thing that I've tried is to it's like get it to post things on LinkedIn, but it is really interesting that from the actual usability perspective, from the business perspective, Copilot Studio is actually more enticing, just because you've got all of these, it's like Microsoft products. It just plugs right into Teams, Outlook, what have you. I'm gonna have to try it. Maybe I'll try to automate sending some emails. Like I remember back when I was a down in the trenches data analyst, I was sending out emails based on snow tickets. If I could automate that in Copilot Studio, that'd be amazing.
That's what I would say. I would say go ahead and try it. Now, I might be mistaken in this, so please, anybody, do feel free to correct me. But I believe you have to have a Power Virtual Agent or Power Automate license to go in and use this technology. But as with all of this, I would say at least go and embrace it, try it. Like Pragati mentioned earlier with AI, etc. Just try it. Be aware of what it's good at, what it's not good at, and then if it works for you, it works for you. But at least you have that kind of awareness aspect of it. And I think Anthony made a fantastic comment in the chat, which is the key aspect is that as developers, we need to be adaptable and keep learning. I'd probably expand slightly on that, in that this is probably a common misconception in the Power BI, at least, world, is that not everybody in this world is developers or were developers. It's kind of that melting pot of citizen devs, low code, no code, and developers that come into this ecosystem as well. But key takeaway here is just be aware of that technology and keep learning.
Definitely. Yeah. When Copilot or AI, I mean, you guys are try it responsibly, basically. So yeah, that had pretty good thoughts, I think, on that. But I think that brings us to, I think for me, it's the most exciting question that I wanted to ask everyone. So I think my question, which is now is, what release would you like to see in 2024? Anyone can start.
Well, I would like to see the release that you showed on your previous podcasts, your previous session. Of course,
Visual calcs.
Visual calculations, because in the words of the program manager, most people will write DAX in visual calculations. It will take away the vertical learning curve, which is so hard for so many people, and make a lot of basic calculations that we all use, running sums and things like that, so much easier to use. And yes, it will be very exciting to see that come out.
Definitely, Mark. Can't agree more on that, because I was too excited about it. I just said that in the starting of a podcast today, but yeah, I'm happy that you said that now. So yeah, thank you so much for
sorry about that. Yeah.
Okay. Who wants to go next? What really you guys want in 2024?
Shall I go next?
Yeah, sure.
So there's a boring answer and an exciting answer. So the boring answer is the enhanced security model within Fabric, because I think Nikola touched on it. The clients were using service principals, using APIs. Yes, we get carried away a lot with the shiny new features, but people want, security in their platforms. They want to make sure that what they're implementing isn't open in terms of unauthorized access. So I just think that's the thing, that it's maybe the boring side of data platforms, but it's the essential side. It's the sides that gets a proof of concept into production. It's what actually gets it running as a service, and that's what we're all here for, right? We're all here to deliver something live, deliver something into a production environment. And so that's my sort of boring answer. My very specific fun answer is, I really want to see some kind of DLT, some kind of Delta Live Tables feature that's available in Databricks within Fabric. So for anyone not familiar with Delta Live Tables, it's essentially like a declarative flow of data from, let's say, all your raw sources down into your curated sources, your star schema. It's a way for you to put together a workflow, but it's a workflow that actually gets implemented in terms of data movement and transformation. So yes, we can glue things together in Fabric with pipelines and with notebooks and data flow Gen 2s, but there's nothing there really for you to say, right, I want this data to go to these several places. This is the dependency, and it's going to go through these several layers to get to the end, right? It's declarative, sort of, in that terms. I don't know whether anyone has played around with DBT yet in Fabric. I haven't really had a lot of chance to get hands-on with it, but again, it's very similar. You are declaring a workflow of data from, a certain stage through another stage. So I'd like to see something like that. Yeah, that's what I'd like to see.
Interesting.
Excellent.
Andy.
Thanks, Andy.
And I think Paul just mentioned, like your answer was not boring at all. That's a major consideration in a company using Power BI. So yeah, security is something they need to bring in. Yeah. Who would like to go next?
I can go next. I'll keep it short. Fully agree with Andy regarding security stuff. Also, as I mentioned, REST APIs, that's my personal pain point, and I believe for many other people around. And also agree with Mark, visual calculations. That's something really that can change the game for many people coming into Power BI world. This first step for them can be a lot easier than it is at this moment. So I'm really looking forward to see the impact of this feature on Power BI professionals.
Injae.
Excellent.
All right. So the thing that I'd like the most personally in Power BI space is for PowerShell to be easier, because APIs are really hard for me. So I'd really love to see some kind of, it's like Copilot supports for, it's like creating PowerShell scripts for, it's like using specifically Power BI admin APIs. Or I'd love to see like a out of the box report that actually is, just a report so that has all of the data sets with all of the Power BI, APIs just connected through, Power Query or something, just like something that you can use out of the box. I think there is something like this a little bit where you can create a data sets with, admin data, but it doesn't have everything as far as I'm aware. It doesn't have, it's like the myriad of API options. And if all of that was just available in the Power BI service for admins to use, I'd love that. It's like that would save me a lot of headaches, because, I'm not really so big into Power BI governance. I'm much more into Power BI report development, but I am, doing a little bit of governance stuff. And I think this is also something that's really important in Power BI inside an organization, sunsetting reports that aren't being used, or if reports that are, say, being used in a self-service capacity, but there's like 100 people using it on a weekly basis, then you got to do something about that. And there's these things that if you know about them, they're pretty basic. Yes, it makes sense that if a lot of people are using a report, you should, upscale that report. You should make that report maybe have some security if it has some sensitive data. But a lot of people don't know how to get that insight, and I think that could be easier for some people.
Thanks, NJ. I think there were the off-the-shelf version that you're referring to might be Hui Romano's. It's probably the most all-encompassing usage monitoring. I'll find a link to the GitHub repo for that and post that shortly.
So, Mark?
Let me just add one last thing out of the box, completely away, since you asked me. And one of the things I liked, first of all, talking about Copilot, I watched Minda Treese's demo on YouTube on Copilot on Excel yesterday, and it was really impressive what Copilot can do. How we can have embed text, which is basically a call to ChatGPT, and bring back lots of very useful information. It'll be very interesting to see how that is used. It's one of those things that says it looks very impressive. Are there really good uses for it? And I'm sure lots of innovative people will find them. But to go out of the box, one of the things that was great about announcement for me was Python in Excel. Now, we haven't mentioned that, but Excel is the most popular, someone would say, I'll be contingent, I'll say it's the most popular BI tool of in the planet, and Python is the most popular de facto data analytics language, and being able to put them together is going to be very useful, I think.
Excellent. Great points as well there, Mark. Thank you very much for going through those for us as well. I think that brings us towards the end of all of our questions for today's session. Is there anything you'd like to add at all, Pragati?
No, I think that's what we had in our mind. And I think it was really great to have different kind of views. I mean, it was not like a one directional kind of thoughts on the table today. We had various different thoughts. So I really liked we had variety today. So yeah, I think that's what we had for today, Leon.
Excellent. We had some great comments coming through as well. We'll just fly through a couple of these if we can before we close. I don't think anybody has answered the question in terms of what.
Oh no,
someone
answered. No, someone.
Oh really?
Answered.
Let's see.
Yeah. 1 second. I just shared that one. Somewhere.
It was a LinkedIn comment.
No, yeah, I don't remember, but someone actually identified the
720.
Common thing between the 4 MVPs. Someone just, I might have just missed it.
I've got it. Here we go. So, is there Christmas beanie?
Yeah.
So yes, it looks like the LinkedIn user is anonymous on this platform, but we can find them on LinkedIn and congratulate them for getting that correct. Yes, so only 4 of us are wearing hats. Myself and NJ unfortunately did not get the memo. So hopefully this time next year we can all come back and all have our hats ready. So just going through a couple of these comments, should I say, as well. So Anthony Catella has been a challenge to build out a monitoring report for their company and having to learn PowerShell. We have put the link to Hui Romano's Power BI Monitor repo, GitHub repo, into the chat. It's probably the most all-encompassing off-the-shelf tool from this perspective available, but it does need some fine-tuning to some of the PowerShell underneath the hood there as well. Pragati, this one coming in from a visualization perspective.
Yeah, definitely. So this is coming from, sorry, I really don't know what that username is, but yeah, they want integration between Power BI and Figma design. So yeah, thank you so much for that comment. But definitely we need more to the visualizations on Power BI. As Mark said in the starting, he wants more pretty visuals, right? That's what I sometimes think we need, more pretty visuals with more capabilities, like some conditional formatting button everywhere they can put, like those kind of things. Because I really don't want to use any custom visuals. So definitely agree, like we need those kind of integrations. And as Injae said, like he knows that few things are coming soon. So I'm pretty excited to see like what's more to come for us next year, because if we can get all those kind of capabilities, it will just make our life so easy while designing all those reports.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And I'd like to thank NJ, Andy, Mark, and Nicola for joining us today. It's something very different. It's the first time we've had one of these table talks on the Fabric UK user group, or even previously on the Power BI UK user group. So really want to thank you all for taking the time out to come and join us and share your knowledge and thoughts with us as well today.
Thank you
Thanks
for
for having us.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for inviting us. Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure,
Yeah,
guys.
this is
Thanks
great.
for
Pleasure to be here.
Excellent. Let's go ahead and close the show, please, Pragati. Excellent. So, like we say, absolutely fantastic to have 4 other very knowledgeable MVPs share their expertise with us here today. And thank you as well for all of you coming to join us at the Fabric UK user group for our 2023 wrap up.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. And as we said, this is a 2023 wrap up, so we won't be having any more sessions. For this year, we'll be coming back soon in January with our opening and amazing, exciting session for you. So happy holidays, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your time with your family, and take a good break, and then just enjoy this time. And then we all will see you next year in January in New Year.